There comes a moment in every person's financial life when everything changes, and most people don't even realize it's coming. One day, you're checking your investment account, wondering if all this effort is even worth it. It feels slow, painfully slow, like you're putting in work, saving consistently, doing everything right, and still barely moving forward. And then, almost out of nowhere, something shifts. You wake up one day and realize your money is earning more than you are. Not because you got lucky, not because you found some secret hack, but because you finally understood the game. This isn't magic, this is math. And in today's video, I'm going to show you the 3 exact net worth milestones where everything changes, where your wealth stops crawling and starts accelerating. My name is John, and I spend an unreasonable amount of time thinking about how money actually works, especially why so many people stay stuck financially, even when they're trying their best. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right but still not getting ahead, this video is going to change how you see money forever, because once you understand these 3 tipping points, you'll never look at investing the same way again. Now let me ask you something. When you think about building wealth, what comes to mind? Maybe you imagine someone in a suit staring at stock charts all day, or someone who got a massive inheritance and had a head start the rest of us never had. But here's the truth that most people completely miss. The people who build real wealth aren't always the highest earners. They're not always the smartest, and they're definitely not the luckiest. They simply understand one powerful idea. Wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. It grows like a snowball rolling downhill. At the beginning, it barely moves. It's slow, frustrating, almost invisible. But if you keep pushing, it starts to pick up speed, then momentum, and eventually it becomes unstoppable. And along that downhill path, there are 3 very specific points where that snowball suddenly accelerates. These aren't random numbers. These are mathematically proven thresholds where compound interest stops being boring and starts becoming life-changing. The first milestone is $100,000. The second is around $650,000. And the third is $1 million. But here's where most people get it completely wrong. They think hitting $100,000 means they're only 10% of the way to becoming a millionaire. That assumption couldn't be further from the truth. And that misunderstanding is exactly why so many people quit too early, right before things start getting interesting. Most people imagine wealth building like this. Every dollar saved gets you exactly $1 closer to your goal. Save $10,000, you're $10,000 closer. Save $50,000, you're halfway to $100,000. Simple, logical, linear. Except that's not how investing works. Because once you invest your money, it doesn't just sit there. It works. It earns returns. And then those returns start earning their own returns. This is the entire foundation of wealth building, and it's something most people either underestimate or ignore completely. We live in a world built on instant gratification. Food in 30 minutes, movies in seconds, anything you want, one click away. So the idea of waiting years, decades even, for wealth to build feels unbearable. But the people who succeed financially understand something different. They understand that money, when invested properly, compounds. Quietly at first, then powerfully. Let me show you exactly what this looks like. Imagine you decide to invest $500 every month. Not a small amount, but also not impossible. It's the kind of money that often disappears into takeout, subscriptions, or impulse spending without much thought. Now assume you earn an average annual return of 7%. That's actually conservative compared to long-term market performance. Here's what happens. It takes about 7 years and 9 months to reach your first $100,000. That's the first milestone. And yes, it feels slow. Almost 8 years of discipline just to hit 6 figures. But during that time, something important is happening. You're building the foundation. Out of that $100,000, roughly $46,000 comes from your own contributions. The other $54,000? That's your money working for you. It's not life-changing yet, but it's proof that the system works. And here's where most people mess up. They look at this progress and think, this isn't worth it. They get impatient. They quit, right after completing the hardest part, because what they don't realize is that everything starts accelerating from here. The next $100,000 doesn't take another 8 years. It takes about 5, so now you're 13 years in and you've hit $200,000. And something incredible has happened. You've only contributed about $78,000 total, but your portfolio is worth $200,000. That means more than half of your wealth came from growth, not effort. This is where the shift begins. This is where your money starts pulling its weight, and it only gets better. Because compound interest isn't linear, it's exponential. Every dollar you earn begins generating more dollars, and those dollars generate even more. The snowball is rolling now. By year 18, you reach around $400,000. At this point, nearly 75% of your wealth comes from growth. Not savings, not sacrifice. Growth. You're now earning tens of thousands of dollars per year just from your investments, without working extra hours, without changing your lifestyle, just by staying consistent. And this is where things start to feel real, because now your money isn't just growing, it's producing income. By year 22, you approach $600,000. And this brings us to the second major tipping point, around $650,000. This is where your life starts to change in a completely different way, because at this level, your investments can generate meaningful income. At an 8% return, $650,000 produces about $52,000 per year. Think about that for a second. That's income. Without a job, no boss, no commute, no clocking in. And while it may not fully replace a high salary, it fundamentally changes your position in life. Losing a job is no longer a disaster. It's an inconvenience. You gain flexibility, freedom, options. You can take risks, start a business, learn new skills, travel, or simply breathe easier knowing you're no longer financially fragile. This is what real wealth looks like. Not flashy cars, not expensive watches, but control. Control over your time, your decisions, your future. And from here, the journey becomes even more powerful, because eventually, you reach the third milestone, $1 million. This typically happens around year 29 with consistent investing, and when it does, something shifts, mentally more than anything else. You don't necessarily feel rich, but you feel secure. You feel validated. You realize that wealth isn't reserved for the lucky few. It's built by people who stay consistent long enough. At this point, your investments can generate $40,000 to $70,000 per year, depending on returns. That's a foundation most people never reach, and it unlocks a completely different way of thinking. Because now, every dollar you own has the potential to multiply, and the math becomes even more powerful. Going from $1 million to $2 million is easier than going from $0 to $100,000. From $2 million to $3 million, even easier. Each milestone requires less effort, because your money is doing most of the work. This is where people either level up or stall. Some get comfortable, they slow down, they stop pushing. But the ones who understand the game, they double down, because they know this is just the beginning. Now, let's address the fear that stops most people. What about market crashes? What if everything goes wrong? Here's the reality. If you're investing consistently over decades, downturns aren't your enemy. They're your advantage. When markets fall, your money buys more. When they recover, and historically they always have, those investments grow even more. Volatility isn't the risk. Quitting is. So here's what it all comes down to. There are 3 moments that change everything. At $100,000, your money starts working. At $650,000, your money starts supporting you. At $1 million, your money starts freeing you. And the only thing standing between you and those milestones is time and consistency. So start, even if it feels small, even if it feels slow. Because years from now, you won't be thinking about how hard it was to begin. You'll be grateful that you did. And if this opened your eyes even a little bit, if it changed how you see money, then make sure you subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Your future self is watching. And trust me, they're hoping you start today.